Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening. India is not a homogeneous country and it has the largest number of people who are spread all over the world. The Indian diaspora is extremely wide and we have seen till recently that there might have been conflicts in the home country. The diaspora was presenting a solid phalanx. However, now we have seen a certain cleavage emerging in India, especially in two major communities, Hindus and Sikhs. And that cleavage is more visible in Europe and in North America. It's a contradiction in terms that while the cleavage has a certain hidden crevices, outwardly everybody admits that there is no difference at all. Both have the same heritage, both have suffered. As a matter of fact, Sikhism is derivative of Hinduism as Christianity came from Jewish religion. But then the recent farmers' agitation is sending curiously and amazingly contradictory signals. On the one side, the cleavage is increasing. Look up at any media and you would observe that they are saying the Sikh farmers being subjected to humiliation, the Sikh farmer on a war path. The war cry, the slogans are Sikh war cries. So much so that even the Hindu leaders like Taket have started wearing turbans, the Sikh symbol, and that too of a color that is typically supposed to be associated with a Sikh flag. The same people who used to call Sikhs barbarians are today saying they are brothers. Great. I fully love it. But on the other side, the diehards and especially of the diehard Hindutva, they are criticizing Sikhs. What's the reality? Is the cleavage real or is it just a talk? Now, if you look at the facts, as I said earlier, the Sikhs came out of Hinduism and essentially Guru Gobind Singh, the last Guru, converted this sect into a fighting force. They were supposed to protect Hinduism, but then they retained a certain outlook which most of the Hindus didn't have. That's a extremely Catholic outlook, very secular, and the Sikh kingdom of Punjab, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, was supposed to be a center of secularism. And as a matter of fact, for globalization. Can you believe it? The generals were French, the advisors were Muslims, the fighters were Sikhs. So this was a curious thing. And six kingdoms retained that Catholicity. How come then there's a cleavage now? If you remember, it emerged after independence. As a matter of fact, it was much before that. A Sikh luminary, Khan Singh of Nabha, had written a book, Hum Hindu Nahi Hai. We are not Hindus. That was basically a prompting of the Britishers. The British wanted to create a cleavage between Hindus and Muslims, Hindus and Sikhs, Hindus and Sikhs and Muslims. divide and rule. That was the policy. And there are people always available. Then there's a mistaken notion of loyalty. Loyalty is good, but loyalty to whom? Sikhs who had fought the Britishers fiercely, had been betrayed by own their people, and they lost Punjab, now became very obedient servants of the British Raj. You always hear about Bhagat Singh and others and the Sikhs being done. But then look at the other side. I would not call 1857 the first war of independence. There was much before that. Baba Ram Singh had started Kuka movement, which turned into Namdhari. And he was an officer of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, Guru Ram Singh. And this Namdhari movement was the first national movement aiming at throwing the Britishers out. And do you know that the kings of Punjab, Patiala, and Nabha, in Sikh kings, had sent cannons so that these Kokas who had been arrested could be shot by the cannon fire, so that not even an inch of their flesh is left behind. When 1857 war took place, Sikhs refused to join the Indian forces and fought along with the British, subduing the forces. So the cancer was developing. Maharaja of Patiala, one title was Farzande Khas, the special son of Queen Victoria. Another was called Dolate Inglisha, the wealth of the Britishers. That was something absolutely slavish and away from the Sikh tradition. But anyway, that was there. But then came a moment of the partition. And would you believe that the partition, the the Sikhs opposed the transfer of Lahore to Pakistan, and Tara Singh, the Sikh leader, climbed up the flagpole, tore the flag of the Muslim League, and then the riot started. And same Mashtara Singh, who was in favor of India, turned against India and started a movement for Punjabi Suba. Apparently, it was a linguistic demand, the way it was in Telangana. But then there was one guy in Ludhiana, Punjab, who started a movement of Mahapunjab saying that India, Punjab should not be divided further so that Sikh majority is not there, and he wanted Greater Punjab. And that was the tragedy. There's a comment by Azad Kaushik. Hindu Sikhs are rooted in Dharma family, including Buddha and Jain, with common ancestry heritage, DNA, shared history, and destiny. The cleavage is political creation and reflects power game of a democratic system. The attempt at the cleavage must be defeated by all right-thinking people. I fully agree, Azad Kaushik Sahab, that A, they have the same ancestry. I've already said Sikhs have come out of him. They are derived from Hindus, so we cannot say they are separate. And as far as saying that is political, yes, it is political. As far as that's concerned, but then the reality has to be faced. Now, I'd like to mention here that we suffer from an ostrich attitude. We see a problem and we don't want to talk about it for one fear, another two. One is the problem may not escalate. So let's keep quiet about it. But then you cannot suppress a fire. Secondly, we want to deceive ourselves. We want to cheat ourselves. We don't want to face the reality. Problem is there, but I fully agree with Professor Azad Kaushik when he says It is a politically created one. But if whether it's politically created or a social issue, it is there. When the British started with help of Baba Khan saying, "Hum Hindu nahi," that was a political issue. When Mahasha Krishna started the movement of Mahapunjab, and Tara Singh and then some further things started the movement of Punjabi Suba, it was a political issue. Akalis wanted to be in power in Sikh majority state, and that's what they got. But now, let's realize why it's there. A, most of the cleavage is because of the Sikhs becoming more radicalized in Europe and Canada. Now, I earlier referred to the fact that Indian diaspora is the largest one. Now, Chinese diaspora is also there, but if you would find that there's no fight in the Chinese diaspora, there is some fight between the pro-democrats and the anti-democrats. But there is more of radicalization of Sikhs outside India than inside India. Have you ever noticed that? That more people outside India, especially in Canada, UK, USA, Norway, talk of Khalistan than the people in India do. People in India don't talk about it. Now, I know that there was one Gurdwara, for example, in Copenhagen, very well respected. People used to go there. And then slowly and steadily, radicals started overpowering it. And the same portion of the Sikh community said, then we don't want to go to this Gurdwara. So they set up their own second Gurdwara, and the second Gurdwara was a moderate Gurdwara. Other moderate Sikhs are the people who had no antipathy to Hindu. But the same happened in Canada. A couple of Gurdwaras are hotbed of Khalistani propaganda. Others are really religious in nature. So this formation of Gurdwaras continued. Now, what happened was basically, you have to see another thing. There is more radicalization of Sikhs in those countries where there are more Muslim diaspora as well, Muslims. Can you believe it? A Canadian think tank a few months back pinpointed the blame in Pakistan for fueling the Khalistan movement in Canada. Among the organizations to be worried, according to them, was Sikhs for Justice, an absolutely rabid pro Khalistan group. Let me be very frank with you. Basic purpose was to feather their own nest. And the interesting part is that when you find more non-Muslim, I should say, sorry, Pakistani immigrants, Denmark, Canada, Norway, UK, and USA, you would find radicalization more because they are supported financially. And secondly, it's easy to lure a vulnerable section of Sikh youth who are unable to integrate in the Western society. So they become radicalized. But then I would not say that's only the uneducated section of Sikhs groups. I have seen very highly educated Sikhs who have joined these groups. But they are doing so because they are unable to decipher that the fact is that Sikh community in India is one of the most privileged communities, highest recruitment in the armed forces. The Sikh farmers are the richest in the whole of India. It has, and Sikh community has benefited from rising image of India as well. And because of the better image of India, they could get visas to go to Australia, Europe, and North America. They didn't come as a use of good. And then, mosques and the gurdwaras became the recruitment centers for radical elements, recruitment. And that's why there's a need to shut down those gurdwaras. But then they don't do it because of the political compulsion of these countries. The political leaders use these radicalized people as vote banks. They don't want to lie them. Do whatever you want to do. So that being so, it's not difficult. Now there's another comment. Did 1951 census is by Mr. Singh Jaspal had anything to do with this divide of Hindu Sikh communities? Absolutely. 100% you are right, Mr. Singh. What happened was in 1951, mother tongue was asked. And under the guidance of Mahasha Krishnan, whom I referred to earlier, Lala Jagat Narayan of Jalandhar, who was later on murdered by the Sikh extremists, Hindus in Punjab, they would talk in Hindi. They would converse in Hindi, but then they started saying, no, our mother tongue is not Hindi, it's not Punjabi, but it's Hindi. They were talking in Punjabi. Punjabi was their lingua franca, but then they started saying, no, it is, our mother tongue is not Punjabi, it's Hindi. And the purpose was that they wanted to show that more people talk in Hindi and mother tongue is Hindi so that the demand for Punjabi Suba is not acceptable. Azad Kushik makes another comment that the cleavage began much earlier than 1850 when British supported Khalistani Sikhs and finished Salafi. Mr. Kaushik, I've already mentioned, it started in 1856 as a matter of fact, not even in 1850. To be more precise, yes, your 1850 is right. And that's what the Ninkari movement was crushed by the Sikhs in collaboration with the Britishers. Secondly, they supported the Britishers in 1857. So you're absolutely right. But then the cleavage had closed down with the coming in of Singh Sabas and Chief Khasa Diwan. They tried to finish off the cleavage. But what happened after partition was that the Sikh Akali leadership, as I would call it Sikh leadership, wanted to rule Punjab, so they wanted Punjabi Suba. And Hindus didn't want it. Not all Hindus, again, let me tell you, and not all Sikhs, but a section of Hindus wanted Mahapunjab, and that's why they started it. So the cleavage did not start in 1951, that's right, but it regenerated at that time. And now what's the situation? Now the situation is that at one level there's absolute feeling that they are different. And the people have a feeling that this is not desirable. That being so, what's to be done? A, we have got to, the media has a major role to play, which is not playing. It is fanning it. Why mention the Sikh flag, Nishan Sahib as they call it, and why say something which is not relevant? Why say, and why not call a spade a spade? I have seen saying farmers, while the protest is not by the farmers, it's by the Sikhs. And if it's not by the Sikhs, why has any media pointed out why is Rakesh Taket now talking of farmers till yesterday he was not? Why don't we tell people that these are the failed politicians? But coming back to the main thing, the divide. Let's be very clear that divide is there. By papering over that, you cannot say the divide is not there. No, the responsibility is of the Sikh intelligentsia to tell people, no, we are a part of Hinduism in the sense that we are derived from them, but we have our distinct identity. That you cannot deny. At the same time, let's not deny it that the more people, more Hindus visit Golden Temple than the Sikhs visit. Go to any Gurdwara, you will find more Hindus over there because they revere time Sikh gurus and the Sikh teaching. And Sikh teaching is not divided from Hinduism. Amazingly, even the national song of the so-called Khalistan was my favorite song, De Shiva Var Mohe, Worship of Shiva. There are more references to Ram, Krishna, Hari, Bhagwan in Guru Granth than in any other book. Guru Gobind Singh celebrated Durga in Chandi Diwar, and the Sikh prayer starts with a worship to Durga. Pratham Bhagavati Simage Guru Nanak Lai. So all that shows the similarity. But what Azad was saying and what Mr. Jaspal referred to, that the political people have started dividing them on false premises. Sometimes they use a language phase. And then one of the biggest thing I heard was that the Sikhs contribute 20%, 30% somebody had written of the income tax. Yes, they pay a lot of income tax because they're rich, but not to that extent. And to think that you are, without you rather, without the Sikhs, India would collapse is ridiculous. India might suffer, but so would Sikhs suffer. The base of Sikhs would be and is in India. India is a part of their motherland. Nobody can deny it. So the cleavage which is there can be papered over, can be cemented, but it needs a proactive action at all levels. A, intelligentsia. Point to the common heritage, point out the similarities, and point out the sacrifices the Sikh gurus made for Hindu religion, which Hindus don't deny and they accept it and they are thankful. Secondly, let there be a clear statement. For example, the latest one about the farmers, and the Hindu farmers should tell them, that look here, we are not with you because the problem is primarily of Haryana and Punjab, no other state. And another thing which I should mention here is that when Punjab started prospering, the Sikh farming community started squandering away its gains. I would not hesitate in criticizing Sikh farming community. And now Punjab is falling. Nobody talks about it. Punjab is on the verge of a disaster. And I plan to talk about it in one of my talks, either tomorrow or on Monday, the fall of Punjab. And that has contributed a lot towards the alienation. You know, when you are deprived of something, you always want to find a scapegoat. And what better scapegoat than the majority community? Then the propaganda by the political parties opposed to the present government. That has to stop. Would it stop? No way. It's not going to stop. So they have got to see that what is there is explained to the people in proper terms. So press, media, intelligentsia, government. It's incumbent on the government as well. I referred to a post yesterday. When groups of 70, 80 people go around the colonies shouting slogans which terrify people and make people feel that they are the aliens in their own country, the cleavage would grow. It would not be papered over. So the government is not taking action. It did not take proper action when Red Fort was desecrated, national flag was insulted. And it did not take action when these goons are traveling all over. A government which doesn't govern has no right to be there. But I'm not blaming the present government. I'm blaming the system. The whole thing has to change. And even, I think, to some extent, the present government, political system, rulers have also got to be blamed. You can't deny. They should have taken a proactive action, which they have not taken. The tragedy of India is that we cheat ourselves. And we are cheating ourselves when we say that there is no cleavage. Cleavage is there, but it's not something which is cannot be cemented over. It is starting. I hope it doesn't rip the country apart. Don't you agree with me? Think another think about it. Is it appropriate that these two sister communities should be opposed to each other? That would be a disaster. Thank you.